no secret that weddings are expensive in 2022, costing couples an average of $27,000. But how much would you be willing to spend on a friend's bachelorette trip?
Writer and consultant for The Accent is David Chang. He is here to discuss the rise of expensive bachelorette parties and how 20-somethings can stay out of credit card debt. And that's pretty hard when you've got stuff like this flying at you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing the cost of weddings starting to go back up after COVID. And on top of that, what we're seeing is Instagrammable moments where in the past you saw, it's between your social circle, but now you want to capture those moments through social media. So prices are going up because you want more experiences. And I was in Vegas recently, and I couldn't tell you how many parties I saw, the matching shirts, all the different designs that they wanted. And so we're seeing the bachelorette parties increase. They're over $2,000 now. And we also know that about 1 out of 3 are being faced with serious debt, and some of them regret doing that. So I would say that it's an important moment. You want to be able to support your friends, but it's important to also manage expectations by understanding what is it that I can afford and not worrying about what I cannot do, but what can I do, and be able to talk to the bride and even be able, if you're also the bride, to be able to manage expectations properly so that people don't get into debt. And one couple nights of pleasure could be years of debt if you're unable to pay it off.
Yeah, so what advice, me, the forever bridesmaid, I am a bridesmaid coming up, and I'm just trying to get my expenses in order because my cousin is getting married next year and I'm his fiance's bride. So I'm one of those people who are experiencing it. So what advice would you have when it comes to credit card debt and how to navigate that?
So one of the things I would talk about is having a big picture view of your finances. Is understanding what is it that I can afford, how is it that I can ensure that I don't go further into debt, what is it that I can do to ensure that, all right, so am I able to have the credit card debt, the interest rate? What is it? We're seeing that the interest rate is a lot higher now post-COVID with the Fed raising interest rates. So what you want to do is you don't want to go too far into debt and be able to keep to your budget if possible.
What advice do you have for people trying to save money instead of using credit cards? I mean, what are some effective ways to save?
So if possible, and it depends on, do you have student debt? Do you have a job? Is that if possible, every month, be able to set $20, $30, $40 aside. Obviously, the more the better. And you could use that as saying, okay, this is part of the down payment for my house. We know that interest rates for high yield savings are going up because what the Fed has done. And the other thing too is that if you are able to funnel aside a set pot of money, what we have is your long-term debt. This is what it's going to be paying off. This is what my short-term debt will be used to pay off, my short-term savings, and even long-term savings. So if you have these different buckets, then it makes it a lot easier to say, for the wedding, I'm going to be using this bucket of money for it. And if I really need to be able to spend more, then it's working with, the bride, or working with even, okay, if I am going to spend more on the wedding, I'm going to have to take it from somewhere else. And so maybe I'm going to postpone a trip that I wanted to take so I could be able to afford the dress for the wedding. So that's why it's very important to have a big picture view of your finances so you know where you can be able to spend and what you're going to have to really cut back on in order to ensure you don't go further into debt.
Well, thank you so much, David. I really needed that advice, and I'm going to use that advice coming up.